resulta, hostia, es que no sé, creo que es que lo tengo en Instagram y es imposible encontrar un mensaje en Instagram. Alguien de la comunidad de Shocas se cabreó mucho conmigo y me escribió un mensaje en Instagram insultándome, pero a lo salvaje, porque vio un clip mío donde se ve que digo que no puedo tener una opinión de todo, que no soy el Shocas. Dije eso, que a ver, es una broma, hombre, es una broma, tampoco hay que tomársela así. Y hostia, me pasó el clip y todo, tío. Me pasó el clip ahí del palo. No, ¿por qué has dicho esto? Habría que verte inútil de mierda, que no sé, insultándome y todo, tío. Y yo, hola. Y yo, madre mía, tío. Nada, y le pregunté, oye, ¿eres el Shocas en realidad, pero con otro nombre? Y no le gustó el chiste. No le gustó el chiste. Bueno, a ver, vamos a poner Start Game para empezar el juego. Que el Start Game, vamos a... Básicamente estoy pensando un poco en todos los estados, ¿vale? Vamos a poner que al principio pues esté cargando. Aquí vamos a hacer el fetch.
Vamos a cambiar
que hemos
al
hecho
Midu.
antes, ¿vale?
Me lo quiero
Esto
mucho,
básicamente
pero
es lo que hemos hecho antes.
estaba escuchando un vídeo antes que era muy interesante. Sobre... ¿Por qué no me sale? Es de Jubilee.
If you don't understand the rules of power, you will certainly lose.
Vale, bloqueamos esto. Muy bien. Y ahora, pues esto lo podría mover un pelín. Así, para que me quede mejor. Perfecto.
In return for money. But you're not really doing that.
In Iran was a communist party. They had escaped Armenia
Vale.
and Russia and came down to Iran, and they pursued communism. I grew up in a family where everything was about the rich are greedy, the rich people are bad, the rich people are this, and the rich people are that. My dad's side, they were imperialist. My dad's side, they said poor people are lazy. So one side, rich people are greedy. The other side, poor people are lazy. Who's right?
I would say that neither are right, of course.
I would say both are right and wrong, is what I would say.
Both are right.
And
okay.
wrong. Both
and
are
wrong.
right and wrong. Because I do believe there are extremely greedy rich people. And I do believe there are extremely lazy poor people. But I also believe there's a lot of hardworking poor people that are working, but they haven't found a way to get out of it. I agree with that as well.
That's actually
Hyperpaper, no lo
point
tengo.
right there.
But
They're not able to get out of it.
You can get out of it. You could actually
But you
get
just
out of
said
it.
they're not able to.
No,
so
because they're choosing not to.
Vale.
I just made an offer for a book recommendation here, so I'm not interested.
Entonces vamos a descargarnos
if I sit there
un...
and somebody's giving you feedback and saying, what about if you think about finding ways to
offer me
improve
that
your
book
life?
then. I'll
Vamos a poner-
I'll check
You
it
would read
out.
the book?
Sure, why
I'll
not?
give you a handful of them.
We'll talk about this
I'll
after
give it to you
this.
afterwards.
Yeah,
But all
of
I'm saying,
course.
the point I'm trying to make to you is, if you can exist under a capitalistic society, and I
Estáis
can
viendo
exist
todo
under
lo
a
que estoy
capitalistic
haciendo, ¿no?
society, so
Sí,
can
sí,
she.
lo estáis viendo.
But
Okay,
you,
we can both
we
exist under a socialist society.
not under
It's not.
communistic, and under socialism, the incentive would be bad.
Por cierto,
Think about it this
no
way.
tengo ninguna
Incentive is
forma de
fine
ver
under
el
socialism
chat
as well.
más
That's not
que...
what we're doing.
During COVID, take the two states,
During COVID.
California
During
and
COVID.
New York. They
Yeah.
lost $1 trillion of wealth.
Si
that
yo
left.
pongo-
Do you know where they went to?
Where did they go
went to
to?
Texas, Nevada, Florida,
Si yo pongo
Tennessee.
esto.
You know why? Because
Why?
it's a better climate for entrepreneurs. Today, if you look at New York City,
Yeah,
you know
that's just
Mamdani.
how the market
You
know
works.
how
Yeah,
Mamdani- you know who
I don't-
Mamdani is.
I
Y
understand.
ahora-
You know who
Market-
Mamdani is. Are you
Yeah,
a fan of
Zohar-
Mamdani?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
I
from
love Zohar.
Cojo
Zoran's up there
esto...
saying he doesn't believe billionaires should exist.
Correct.
I hope he wins. I hope he wins. You know why? Because he says, I don't believe billionaires should exist. And he's
ahora?
going to be the mayor of a city that has the most billionaires in America, 123. I hope he wins so we can see what happens to New York when the billionaires leave. When they leave, here's who's going to pay the price. The people that are left
Vale.
behind who
Creo que
were
más o menos
taking
tengo
advantage
algo,
of the taxes
¿vale?
that billionaires were paying. You think
When-
the government's
when
going to
there's a-
change their budget and
when there's a
expenditure?
$30
No.
minimum
Middle
wage, I can't
America's gonna-
imagine that's
Middle
who's
America's
gonna
going to
be.
take the biggest hit if billionaires leave
Vamos a
the
pillar
state of New York.
un-
You'll see.
Wallpaper, Hyperland. Es que no me gusta, es una puta
you're
mierda,
back.
tío.
How are you? Good to see you.
Wallpaper for qué.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to start by saying that the US is not largely socialist because that's not what socialism is. Socialism is social or collective ownership by the workers or a community of the means of production, right? So we're talking about like city
Se acaba de
grocery
descargar
stores,
en
or we're talking about
4K.
worker cooperatives, or even in some cases credit unions where a local community owns the bank that they take part in, right? That's what socialism is. Socialism is not when the government does stuff for you. It's not when they build roads. That happens under capitalist economies, it happens under socialist economies. But I'm also not sure you entirely know what capitalism
Creo que es
is.
esto.
And if it's okay, I'd like to ask a couple questions about your job.
Sure.
Because you're offering that. I know that you're Valuetainment, right? You run a YouTube podcast. You also run PHP Agency, right?
Yep.
Yes. And you sell life insurance policies, right?
Life insurance and annuities.
Yes. I read an article by the Daily Beast which argued that you make more money from recruitment fees to get people to work for you than you make money from selling those policies. Capitalism is when you provide a service and sell the labor of yourself or the person who works for you in return for money. But you're not really doing that, right? You're selling being part of the company through recruitment fees. I'm not sure that's capitalism.
How familiar are you with the insurance industry?
Pretty familiar.
Are you?
Yes.
You've been in the industry before?
No, my grandfather was, and I asked him a lot of questions.
So in the insurance industry, when you're in it,
yes,
you get paid
yes.
by selling life insurance policies, and you get paid by selling annuities.
Yes.
We built a distribution channel of a company right after I left Morgan Stanley and Transamerica. We started the insurance company. We grew it, helping middle-income families who didn't have another opportunity to create wealth for themselves. I just came back from our event in Vegas.
Hold on, I'm not sure that's correct, though.
Vale.
It's not correct, though, because what do you make more money
I just
from?
came back from, we don't make more money from recruiting.
I read the Daily Beast article that did that. I also watched CoffeeZilla's debate with you, where they pulled up receipts that the majority of the employees of your company don't make any money.
Here's a question for you. For you. Bring up CoffeeZilla.
Yeah.
Daily Beast is a different story. Go to CoffeeZilla.
Sure, of course.
Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? What do you think? Do you
I think that it's not really capitalist.
Hang on a second. Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? They were actually very strong when they came back after me. We had a 2-hour conversation.
Yes.
We finished it. It was good to go. We moved on. Their claims that only 1% or 2% make and nobody makes it in insurance, they're right. Most people don't make it in insurance. Just like most people who move to California don't make it in Hollywood.
So I believe the
most people
technical
don't make it in
term
real
for when you
estate.
make more money from getting people to be part of a company than from actually selling a service is called a multi-level marketing scheme. Do you think that that's a fair characterization of your company? Why not?
Do you know what multi-level is?
Yes, I know. It's where you make more money from, it's sort of like a pyramid scheme wherein you make more money from getting people to be part of it and selling them to be part of the company.
A pyramid scheme doesn't have a product. That's criminal. A multi-level marketing company is more like an Amway, an Herbalife, a New Skin, those companies.
But
because it pays you.
You are making more money from getting people to be part of your company than you are from making money from actually providing a service.
That's not true. It's a claim by Daily Beast. By the way, do you know what equality of earnings is?
Yes.
What's equality of earnings? Tell everybody what equality of earnings is. Go ahead.
Fair point. The quality of earnings isn't that like the value that's produced from when you make the money? Like how much from the labor that's produced, or am I wrong?
What is quality of earnings?
I gave you what I think the definition is.
Okay. So quality of earnings is I sit there and I want to sell the business to you.
Yeah.
You make an offer of $250 million. Okay? I tell you, this is my business. Here's how much profit we make. You leave and you say, great, let's make a deal. I'll pay you $250 million. We shake on it. Then you validate whether it is worth that or not by going and paying a big company a few $100,000 to check the quality.
So same deal as like having someone look at the quality of the gold that you're going to buy.
PwC came and they do a quality of earnings to say, is this company really worth this? They get to make a decision whether the company is truly doing what you or Daily Beast claims to do.
The value comes from your brand. It comes from going on podcasts like that, even when they expose the business model, because you're not selling.
Do you know what ended up happening? Don't make claims you don't know about.
Do you know what you're selling?
Do you know what ended up happening?
You know what you're selling, right?
Do you know what ended up happening?
Do you know what you're selling?
The company
you're selling your
ended up
personal
buying.
brand. You're selling the idea, because when you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Buenas, Rafarex. Tengo que reiniciar.
You have a recruitment
fee?
No. Be very careful claiming. Be very careful making that claim when you said people here have to pay to work at our company.
It's recruitment.
Be very careful. No, those are two different things.
No entiendo. Ah, hyperhyperbaby.com. Vale.
Good, how are you? Tatiana.
Tatiana?
Sí, gilipollas.
Anya, but yes. And your name's Patrick, right?
It is.
And I don't know a lot about you before coming
That's
in
even
today. But why do you use socialism and capitalism like in this instance? I've noticed a lot of people have defined the vast differences, but you're insisting that we're still like a more socialist like country.
Vale.
Why are you?
Ahora la cosa es que no sale el
different
wallpaper.
definitions you can have. Under communism, to me, it's 100% taxes, meaning I can't go create my own property. If I want to build a billion-dollar company, I can't do it under communism. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I guess it is.
It is.
Coffee, happy
So
paper.
capitalism, I would ideally like to see taxes between 10 to 30% max. I'd like a flat tax, but somewhere between 10 to 30%, because I still do think there's certain things that the government needs to do. Military protection, certain things. Socialism to me is 30% and up. Anything above that you're taking the money away from me without my choice to use it for things where we get to 68% of entitlement programs, I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, so let's talk about where we're at. I believe you said reasonable wage and minimum wage. What about a livable wage? And we haven't really talked about livable wages because they
What do you
differ.
think about minimum wage? So what do you think minimum wage should be?
So I think we have a long way to go.
Okay.
I'm not really a big fan of these little increment things, especially when it's not like rent. It's stopping and leveling out. It's like it's far exceeding what most people
I don't disagree, for
make.
sure. Yep.
And so I'm just wondering how you still can sit here and say that when I know you like to talk about you came up from Haagen-Dazs and all this other stuff.
In Glendale Galleria, 20 minutes away
great.
from here.
Love that for you. But we're talking about where you are today and where I am, a majority of these people in the room.
Sure.
And I haven't
believe
really
you can
heard.
change.
Yes, we can
Okay.
change, but I think that there's certain systems.
Are you
in
talking
place.
minimum wage? You want to address the minimum wage
talk
topic?
minimum wage,
Ah.
livable wage,
Okay.
because I think they're
What do
two
you
very
think it
different
should
things.
be? What do you think it should be?
I think that we should go per state because every state is different in
Give me a
terms of what
number.
they
Where do you
have.
live? You
Esto-
live in
I live in
California?
California,
What do you think it
so
should be?
based
Muchas
on the
cosas
MIT
más.
living wage calculator, it's an actual livable wage
Exequans.
calculator. It's $27.81 should be the starting, and then if you have kids and so forth, then you can go up from there.
Okay.
But starting at about $27 hourly.
Let's look at case studies of what happened. California chose to increase the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour, restaurant workers. Do you know what happened in the state of California? Mass exodus. People left and went different places. You know what restaurant owners did? I can't compete with these guys if you raise the minimum wage. But the challenge with minimum wage is also the following. So say there's two companies.
No,
You have
enable.
Walmart, okay, in Bakersfield, pick a city.
Hyperpaper, no?
And you have a
No,
different
service.
supermarket that's been in the same family for 60 years. The governor here says we're going to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Who do you think can afford it? The market that's been within a family, the
Active
small
running?
business, or you think Walmart? Who do you think
Vale.
can afford to go to $20 an hour minimum wage?
Vale, caro.
That's why I think we have to factor in other systems other than capitalism.
but-
I think you're
but
kind
what-
of making the point that's been made a few times
Esto lo
today,
tengo
where
que
you
mover
can't
a-
look at
This
one
hasn't been made.
thing.
No, this hasn't made. The point I'm making here is anytime a Bernie Sanders gets up and says, let's raise the minimum wage for
no
$15, and he was caught in his campaign not paying his own workers $15, $13 an hour, and he had to talk about it and apologize that even a guy that's a socialist wasn't paying a minimum wage. But if you raise it to $15, Amazon celebrates.
Okay.
Walmart celebrates. Do you know why? Because the employers from this supermarket that have been working for this family for the longest time, they can't
Vale.
afford it. So they leave and go to Amazon
Vale.
and Walmart. What happens? The bigger
Vale.
companies keep getting bigger. The
Esto
small
está más
businesses go out
guay.
of business because of minimum
Está más
wage.
guay.
Okay, so you mentioned Bernie Sanders. I didn't mention him. Cool for Bernie Sanders. Whatever. Do you pay a livable wage or a minimum wage for your employees?
There's not a single soul in our company that I pay $15 an hour or $20 an hour.
Okay, so are you paying them livable wages though?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Aquamarine.
based on your standards
Because
or
of
based
my
on the
choice.
stats?
Because of my choice.
So you're
because
determining what people's livable wages
well,
are?
no, I look at the marketplace and I see what's going on and I get to pick and choose what percentile
Vale,
of people I want to hire. Do I want to hire bottom 10%, 25%, 50%? I'll pay a little bit more because I want to get somebody that's got a little bit more experience.
Okay. Okay.
Tanya?
Un poco mierdas, ¿no?
Tanya? Thank you.
En Pinterest a lo mejor encuentro algo.
Hi again, Patrick.
How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Can you remind me again why you think this country is largely socialist?
Out of the $4.9 trillion of revenue that we get in, 4.8, 4.9, 68% goes to entitlement programs. That's the reason why I say America's socialism.
Do you think that we should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
That's why we have elections.
Okay.
And you vote for it. Yeah.
So you agree that we should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
If you're asking me who should have a right to vote, I would change the system in a major way of who would have the right to
I'm
vote.
not asking you if people
You're
should-
asking me a question
I'm not
and I'm
asking you
giving
who
you-
should have the right to vote.
Right.
I'm asking you, do you think that
The
our
current system
taxpayer dollars should be
allows-
dictated by us?
The
where that
current
goes?
election allows you to vote and decide who you want to be your candidate.
Absolutely. Okay. So I would argue that the biggest handouts go to billionaires because we give billions and billions of dollars in subsidies to billionaires every single year. Elon Musk just got a huge raise. Not sure why. He's worth over like hundreds of billions of dollars.
You're talking be specific. You're talking about SpaceX?
I'm talking
The
about
subsidies,
SpaceX,
you're talking
Tesla. I'm
SpaceX?
talking about the company.
Okay.
Creo que
as taxpayers.
puedo
So why
filtrar
would we
cosas,
never
así
vote
que lo voy a
for
mover aquí.
Why did you never vote for the money going
Do
to
you
some
see
of
an,
these
do you see
companies?
an issue with the fact that we as
Well,
taxpayers didn't
if-
have a
if
say
you're-
in,
if-
first of all, electing this tech oligarch,
Once you elect somebody,
deciding where our taxpayer
Yeah.
dollars go?
once you elect who you elect, what they do next, you don't have a say during that time.
We didn't elect
until
him.
the next election. No, I'm talking Congress, Senate. They make a decision on who they give the money to and they
Okay,
approve.
but he's been getting this amount of subsidies through every administration.
Let-
I'm not
let's-
just referring to the
let's
Trump
talk
administration.
let's talk about how it was done, okay? So the NASA was shut down many years ago, okay? Since then, how has NASA done? Trying to find a way to go to space. What has SpaceX done? SpaceX
What
has
has
been
NASA
able
done?
to do
What has
to
NASA
go to
done?
space
NASA gave us the
1/20th
satellite,
of a
which
cost.
you use every time you
1/20th
use
of
your
a
phone.
cost. If you let me finish, NASA versus SpaceX. Elon Musk, as much as you hate him, Elon Musk was able to go to space for 1/20th of a cost because government organizations
Elon Musk has the
don't
ability
manage
to
finances
eradicate extreme
accordingly.
poverty in this country, and he chooses to send rockets into space and make extremely ugly cars that we never actually funded.
Believe it or
So I
not,
would
most
argue-
liberals drive his cars, so
Well, I would say the Cybertrucks. It's a poor decision aesthetically.
The
but
Cybertruck
I'm not
is a poor
discussing the
decision?
aesthetics of his products.
it's so funny because when you say what you say about, say, the Democratic side on the climate change side, the guy that's worked towards that the most, you guys loved him till he supported Trump. Elon was your favorite 8 years ago until he supported Trump. The moment he went into Trump, this guy's a horrible guy. This guy's a terrible guy.
To be fair, I've hated Elon Musk consistently throughout my adult life. And I also think that he is someone who has benefited immensely from the government. That's why I find hypocrisy in what you're saying.
I don't disagree
also think
in that side.
He's benefited immensely from the exploitation of labor overseas. He's benefited immensely from his extremely aggressive union tactics, union busting tactics. So I'm saying, like, why
Is he a
are
net
we...
positive to you for society?
Is he a net positive for me personally?
Is he a net positive for society, not for you?
I wouldn't say so.
You
no.
don't think he is?
No, I wouldn't
Who
say so.
to you is a net positive to society? Bernie Sanders?
I mean, Bernie Sanders is, I would say he's a compromise candidate, but I would say that...
He's a compromise candidate.
Yes, I would
Is
say he's a compromise
AOC a net positive to society?
I would say net positive, yes.
More than Musk is.
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Tell me
Yeah.
why.
Because AOC wants to introduce a Green New Deal, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that the New Deal is the
For
closest
$30
thing...
trillion?
Okay, Trump literally just added $3.4 trillion to
It's
our
a big
deficit,
difference
so I really don't want to
between
hear...
30 trillion and
Okay, so I'm
3
saying,
trillion.
I'm saying that I think that, you know, when we look at the system that we currently have,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we
Pero
need
esto no
to
es un live
redistribute the
wallpaper.
wealth in a significant way,
sí.
and we need to reintroduce something like the New Deal.
Why
And I
don't
think
you-
AOC has been the closest to doing that. I'm not
Why
saying I'm the
don't
biggest fan of
you-
her.
Yo
but
puedo
I'm saying that
descargarme esto.
we need a marginal tax rate
Right.
that is something
Yeah.
similar to the New Deal, 70 to 90%. Ideally, I would go for a wealth tax. Anyone over $999 million has to pay every year. But I'm saying that
Say that one more time. You would do what? Anybody that
I
makes
would
over...
I would introduce a wealth tax. So
Okay.
I'd say that anyone who makes over $999 million needs to pay. So I think that no one should be a billionaire. I think that we should put the cap.
No one should be a billionaire.
Absolutely not. Do you think that people can survive on
Right.
$999 million?
This isn't how life works.
Do you think someone could
This is
survive on
a-
$999 million? I'm asking you, do you
utopia.
think someone would be
You don't get
okay?
to dictate
Do you think
how a
someone's life would be
person
impaired if they
drives
had
and
only
do it.
$999 million
You don't get
instead
to
of $1 billion?
dictate that.
You're not answering the question.
Fortunately,
Answer
these
my
companies
question.
that continue to grow
Why are you avoiding my
created
question?
jobs for others.
Do you think someone
And
could
you in
reasonably
America
survive on
don't get to
$999
dictate
million?
how big a person wants to build their business. That's not
Why
true.
do you-
By the way,
why
why
do you
don't
think
you
we-
elect someone that pursues those policies? Bernie was your hero for many years. He became compromised.
I never said he was my hero.
But how did Bernie become compromised?
I said that he
You said
is
he's a compromised
I said he's
candidate.
a compromised
Why
candidate.
is he a compromised candidate?
I mean, he was definitely compromised by the Democratic Party, who didn't want him elected.
What happened?
I'm saying he's a compromised candidate in that I would go further than him, but I also know that he's probably the best we have right now, and I would like to see him as president, ideally, or someone similar. I think Zohran Mamdani, who you mentioned earlier, I think
I
he's an
can't
excellent
wait
candidate.
for him to win. You know why
Why
I
is
can't
that?
wait for him to win? Because I can't wait for the data that comes out after he wins. I can't wait to show you all the numbers in the next 4 years after he
If
wins.
rich people have to flee New York
They will.
because of his policies,
They
that
will.
means that they're too economically fragile
No,
to
because if
handle
you
those
don't
taxes.
appreciate people that create jobs, they will go
What
somewhere
kind of
that they're
jobs are we
appreciated.
creating?
We
have to look past job
they
creation.
pay high-paid jobs.
Many of the
if
jobs.
you bring value to the market.
The reality is that Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, they have huge monopolies over our market, and they're able to pay as little in wages as they'd like.
I think the only company that has a monopoly, I think the only company that has a monopoly. They quite literally control
the wages and the costs in our economy.
Right.
When Amazon has 60% control over e-commerce,
Vale, no ha
they can
funcionado.
quite literally decide what wages and what costs people can earn and
Bueno,
pay.
Your candidate AOC.
I never said she was my candidate.
She's a net positive to society.
False endorsements on
you said AOC is a net positive to society more than Elon Musk.
Absolutely,
perfect.
Yes.
When AOC was in New York, Amazon wanted to bring 25,000 jobs to New York. These were jobs that were paying
what do those jobs look like?
a year.
Because from what I understand, the people who work for Amazon have to walk 10 to 15 miles per shift. They have higher injury rates than the industry average.
These were jobs that were paying $150 a year.
I think we've been stopped.
She went against it. They went to a different place. 25,000 jobs they lost in New York.
And what would those jobs look like?
$150K a year minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go with my friend here.
¿Por qué?
So I chose Mason because he was the only one that came up to me and said, Pat, I'd like to have a reasonable conversation with you. You came up. There was 3 other people I was thinking about.
¿Por qué?
And because you were fair and respectful, I chose you.
So my claim is America has never been a meritocracy.
Okay. Tell me why.
So I think that when you see wealth disparity and the amount that it gives influences to certain individuals, specifically from a starting point, if we're looking at America like a race and someone is starting 2 inches from the finish line and somebody is starting a mile back, we would not say that this is a judgment of their merit. We'd say that this is a system that allows those with the most influence to continue to be successful.
So is it about some of the people that got generational wealth have an advantage over others that didn't get it?
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying that that's a moral failure. I'm just saying when people claim that capitalism is a meritocracy, that's just factually inaccurate. And we shouldn't be allowed to lie here. Like we should try to be coming to a common consensus.
So capitalism is not a meritocracy?
No.
So you mean to tell me nobody here can go out there and win if they wanted to at the highest level?
No, I think that there's a probability that people can have social mobility or increase their economic conditions. It does not mean that everybody is able to. Some people could be a billionaire in the circle. Not everybody
you're saying
could be.
Not everybody's able to, I fully agree. I can play baseball, but I'm probably not
No
going to play
entiendo nada.
baseball.
I can spend money on a lottery ticket. Doesn't mean I guarantee to win the
I
lottery.
agree. So what's your point? I agree with you, Dan.
So my point is that America is not a meritocracy. You said that.
No, you said there's 2 things.
System control, stop.
At what levels
No
you
entiendo
can
nada.
have success. To me,
System
in life,
control.
there's 3 different types of people. You got
You said.
overachievers, you got achievers,
Stop.
you got underachievers.
Paper,
Let me
paper.
unpack this for a second. We got 10 minutes.
You can.
Overachiever,
Paper,
achiever,
punto,
underachiever.
service.
Okay? You can find a guy
Y ahora,
in school. We all remember the
estatus.
kid in school that was we're like, that kid's going to win in life. And he didn't.
La aventura de Kirby continúa en Nintendo Switch 2. Un extraño meteorito ha caído del cielo y lo ha cambiado todo. Nuevos niveles, enemigos y transformaciones se añaden a los que ya conocías y te dejarán con la boca aún más abierta. Kirby y la Tierra Olvidada, más el mundo astral, solo para Nintendo Switch 2.
No entiendo nada. No entiendo nada. A lo mejor ahora sí me funciona, ahora esto. A ver.
He was supposed to be an overachiever. He ended up being an underachiever. And there were kids in school that we looked at. We said, that guy's not going to do anything with life. Dude, stay away from that guy. He ends up winning. He's an overachiever. So it's not about what you're, end up doing in your life. It's how close you reach to your capacity.
The winning that you're talking about, quote unquote, is wealth accumulation.
Not necessarily wealth accumulation.
It is. That's exactly what you just said.
If you end up, I have friends that make $120,000 a year. They have a good life. They're happily married, got 2 kids, and they chose to go live in a place like Victorville. They chose to go live in a different place. But to me, that is winning. They're contributing to society.
I have a genuine question for you, Patrick.
Please.
Do you think that a nurse or a hedge fund manager offers more social utility?
This is documented. 14 years ago, I made a video talking about the 10 most honorable professions, and a hedge fund manager wasn't on that list, but a nurse was.
Wow.
I believe what nurses do, when my father's at the hospital, and I see how they attend to him, you have no idea how much respect I have for nurses.
Right.
It's a tough job.
And,
However,
but I would say the hierarchy of what our society looks like does not prioritize that in the same way that you're saying
but
that it
there's
does.
a difference. So there's a difference. Do I think a nurse is more important to the market than a basketball player? Yes. But the market wants to watch a basketball player play, so they pay Steph Curry $60 million.
Tengo que hacerlo al revés.
Your last claim was about how America's socialist, and that's a bad thing. I assume that you're saying because of government intervention. Is
Absolutely.
That correct? So you think capitalism can exist without government intervention?
I think you need law and order because there will be abuse if you don't have it. In our insurance company, when I was run the company, I had to make sure there was law and order in there. If you don't have certain compliance, abuse will come in. When abuse comes in, if it's a free-for-all.
Are part of those laws like labor laws?
That can also be abused. No, it's a fair question you're asking, but a part of that can also be abused. A lot of those guys go in with the right intentions. Then they become dividers, and they pin the employer against the employee. So then the divide and conquer model is very effective.
I just want to break this down. Do you think that there are not mutually exclusive interests in owners and workers?
Do I think there's mutual interest with owners and workers?
Do you think that they have a symbiotic relationship and when they're trying to achieve the same goal?
I like to give my employees equity because if you own equity in the company, you no longer are an employee. You treat it as if it's your own company. So I prefer to give my employees equity, but it's my choice. I don't want the government forcing me to give them equity. I'll give you a story. Do you remember that story of a guy who said, I pay every single one of my employees $70,000? I don't know if you remember this guy. This story went viral. Socialism, what a noble guy. Everybody retweeted it, the Bernies of the world. Phenomenal guy. I invited him on the podcast. He comes on the podcast. I said, so tell me about your noble cause that you pay everybody 70 grand a year. He says, well, I don't think anybody should make over 70 grand a year. You can live off of $70,000 a year. I said, perfect. How many employees do you have? Let me make the point.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that this is conducive to our conversation.
I said, how many employees do you have? He says 100. I said, how many of those 100 own a single share of your company? None of them do. Who does? I do. You're a socialist claiming everybody should make that much money, but you're not giving equity?
I'm not endorsing this particular person. I'd love to look into this, and maybe I'll watch the interview later.
There's a lot of contradictions in socialism when it comes down to action.
There are contradictions in the way that workers are trying to get as much wages as possible. That's just guaranteed. I want to get the maximum amount for the labor that I put into it. A owner wants to do the exact opposite. It's not that they want to pay people what they're deserved. They want to pay people what they can get away with. That's just virtually true.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case.
No, you already agree that coercion exists in the system.
It does.
You're just saying that socialism. You're saying that socialism is the government mandating owners to do it. But you're saying that markets do the exact same thing. You just said that the market price determines.
Don't put words in my mouth. I like you. You're respectful. You're a nice guy. Don't put words in my mouth.
Did you not say that markets determine market rates?
I haven't. What I'm telling you is there will be abuse in business. And if there is a person
I'm going to ask you the same question as soon as you're done, but continue.
There is abuse in business. Some people will take advantage of that. But the benefit of a free market capitalism
is not inactive for a has a pending job.
You go work for him. If he doesn't treat you fairly, you go work for him. Eventually, if you bring enough value, guess who can't afford to lose you? I can't afford to lose you.
Do you think that markets determine market rates?
If I can't afford to lose you, guess what I have to do to you?
Do you think that markets determine market rates?
You didn't answer my question. If I can't afford to lose you, guess what I do to you?
Do you know what a monopsony is?
Tell me about it.
So, do you know the difference between a monopoly and
Estoy volviendo loco.
Tell me about monopsony.
Okay, so a monopoly is a single seller who has rare competition within the selling of the distribution. That creates like inflated prices and that can hurt consumers. But a monopsony is one single buyer. So this is an employer. There are things called company towns. You brought up the example of Walmart outpricing small businesses.
Sure.
I think that's a fantastic example.
On the minimum wage side.
Of how there are large businesses that utilize their leverage and their influence and their capital in order to determine what those wages look like in a given particular place.
Sure.
So what I want to argue is minimum wages seem to stifle monopolies because they allow people to same floor rate. You're saying that big businesses have an advantage when there's a minimum wage because they can pay more.
They do.
We are also advocating for higher taxation rates and capital gains taxes on these businesses that are supposedly taking advantage of the system.
I think.
And wait. You can invest this in tax breaks for small businesses for people that have less employees. Maybe you say that less than 5 employees, they have certain tax incentives, so they're not taxed at the same rate as these large conglomerates. But that does not mean that a minimum wage is a bad idea, because like most people here said, you can't survive on less than $7 an hour in most places.
You know what's the great thing about business and numbers and data is every idea is getting exposed. During COVID, all the policies that came out from the leftist side, they're all getting exposed today.
Name two.
Within time, everybody realizes what works and
Wait,
what
can
doesn't
you name
work.
those policies
when,
besides just
when
saying that they
states who
failed?
chose kids to stay home instead of going to school.
When is that a socialist policy?
That is a control, because when a government is ran in a way that they're controlling.
That's not socialism, my friend.
Socialism is a form of
Socialism
control.
is a workers' control of
Communism
their
is the
own.
ultimate control.
No, socialism is workers' control of their own workplace.
Socialism is a form of control. Communism is the ultimate control.
See, you're using this rhetorical device as saying that capitalism equals freedom, socialism equals control.
No me lo creo, tengo que...
And I've given you a couple questions that you haven't answered yet.
I'll answer any question.
I want to go back to the question
The
that I asked
rhetorical strategy that you're using might be beneficial for a large media platform. It's not based in reality.
If you bring value to me, and you're so effective to my company, if you get to a point that I don't give you a good salary and I don't give you equity, what's going to happen to
Creo
you?
que se va a acabar el directo,
I'm going to try to start a union with my workplace
Dispatch
so that way we can
exit.
collectively bargain on how to raise.
Creo que cuando haga esto se va a acabar el directo.
What happens? They're
You
busted.
leave and you go to a different company and they
Are
give
you saying that
equity.
Creo que
owners bust
sí.
the union? Is that what you're saying?
No,
It's
that's
not
not what I'm
successful.
saying. I'm not talking union. You're talking about a different.
Bueno, si me he ido, que sepáis que es
I think
porque
in
voy a
some places
ejecutar
they work.
esto
I told
ahora.
you earlier. In many cases, they're
Que
divisive.
por cierto no se ve.
You also mentioned Wealth of Nations. You like Adam Smith?
I think a lot of
¿Por
his
qué?
ideas,
¿Por qué no
yes.
se
Do you
ve?
disagree, or do you also agree that landlords are parasites?
Ahora sí.
I don't agree.
Hola,
100%.
no me jodas. No
Adam
estaba viendo
Smith,
todo el
even
rato.
Wealth of
Vale.
Nations author, said that.
Si me voy
He said
es
that
que
right to-
esto se ha muerto,